Terrific day, my dear students. It's TLE time. I'm Mr. Ricky Siroque, and I would like to welcome you to our Cookery 10 class. Did you miss me? Me too. I am happy to see all of you again. I am expecting that you keep your learning packets beside you to guide you for our lesson today. Are you ready? Me too. To have an overview of the lesson, let me give you the content standard, performance standard, and the specific objectives for today's lesson. For the content standard, the learners demonstrate an understanding of preparing and cooking meat dishes. For the performance standard, the learners independently prepare and cook meat dishes. Our lesson will be based on the learning competency, LO5, evaluate the finished product. At the end of the lesson, we have expected the following specific learning objectives. Number 1, identify the different methods of cooking meats. Number 2, apply the 2 methods of cooking meats. Number 3, appreciate the skills and values learned in cooking meats. It's review time. Last meeting, we learned 2 methods of cooking. Let's see if we still recognize the 2 methods of cooking by completing the term inside the box. I will give you 5 seconds to think about the right answer. You may type your answer in the comment section below. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is boiling and simmering. For 5 seconds. The answer is baking, grilling, sautéing, and roasting. Nice one, learners! Since we are done reviewing our previous lesson, let us answer the 5 questions that will stimulate our minds before we proceed to our discussion. I will give you 5 seconds to think about the right answer. You may answer it in your module or type your answer in the comment section below. Let's proceed. Let me read the directions. It's modified true or false. Write true if the statement is correct, and if it is false, change the underlined word or words to make it true. Number 1. The 2 methods of cooking meat are dry heat and moist heat. Is it true or false? For 5 seconds. The correct answer is true. Number 2. Roasting, broiling, pan frying, stir frying, and outdoor grilling are examples of moist heat methods. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is false. It should be dry heat method. Number 3. Braising and cooking in liquid are examples of dry heat methods. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is true. Number 4. Stir frying is like pan frying, except that the food is stirred almost continuously. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is true. Number 5. Steaming is a dry heat cooking technique that employs hot steam to conduct the heat to the food item. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is false. The underlined word should be moist heat. That's perfect. Great job, learners! What do you think is our lesson for today? You are right. That is the methods of cooking. You heard it right. The methods of cooking were introduced to you last meeting. But for today, we will deepen our understanding of it. Moving on to our topic, the methods of cooking meat, which is the dry heat method. It is suitable for tender cuts of meat or less tender cuts, which have been marinated. Dry heat methods include roasting, baking, broiling, grilling or barbecuing, pan frying, stir frying, and deep frying, and sauteing. First is roasting. Roasting is a cooking method that uses dry heat where hot air covers the food. The food cooking it evenly on all sides with temperatures of at least 150 degrees Celsius or 300 degrees Fahrenheit from an open flame, oven, or other heat source. This method of cooking is recommended for larger cuts of meat, uncovered and without water in an oven or oven-type appliance. Next is baking. It is a method of preparing food that uses dry heat, typically in an oven, but can also be done in hot ashes or on hot stones. Next is broiling. It is cooking by exposing food to direct radiant heat, either on a grill, over live coals, or below a gas burner or electric coil. Broiling differs from roasting and baking in that the food is turned during the process so as to cook one side at a time. It is suitable for tender beef steaks, beef and lamb kebabs, veal, pork and lamb chops, pork ribs, sliced ham, bacon, butterfly lamb leg, and ground beef, pork and lamb. Next is grilling. Grilling is a form of cooking that involves dry heat applied to the surface of food, commonly from above, below, or from the side. It is often used to cook tender roasts, steaks, pork chops, pre-cooked ribs, ground meat patties, and processed meat like fully cooked ham, hot dogs, sausages, and bologna. Next is pan frying. The meat is first browned on both sides in a small amount of fat and then seasoned. Cook the meat uncovered and at a moderate temperature, turning occasionally until done. Tender cuts are usually most suitable for pan frying. Next is stir frying. This method is like pan frying except that the food is stirred almost continuously. Cooking is done with high heat using small or thin pieces of meat. And next is the deep frying. When meat is cooked immersed in fat, the process is called deep fat frying. This method is only used with very tender meat. Usually, meat to be deep fat fried is coated with egg and crumbs or butter, or it is dredged in flour or cornmeal, or breaded. This method of cooking is sometimes used for brains, sweetbreads, liver, and croquettes. However, several other meat products are suitable for deep fat frying. Next is sauteing. It is a form of dry heat cooking that uses a very hot pan and a small amount of fat to cook the food very quickly. Next method is the moist heat method. This method of cooking is suitable for less tender cuts of meat. Moist heat cooking helps to reduce surface drying in those cuts requiring prolonged cooking times, unless a pressure cooker is used. The cooking temperature is usually low, but heat penetration is faster than in dry heat methods because steam and water conduct heat rapidly. So we have here simmering, boiling, and braising, and steaming. We will now proceed to simmering. Simmering, the cooking liquid, is a bit hotter than poaching, from 180 degree Fahrenheit to 205 degree Fahrenheit. Here, we will see bubbles forming and gently rising to the surface of the water. But the water still isn't at a full rolling boil. Next is boiling. Boiling is a process where the food reaches its highest possible temperature of 212 degree Fahrenheit or 100 degree Celsius. Next is braising. It is a process of cooking less tender cuts of meat slowly at low temperatures in a reducing liquid such as water, vegetable juice, wine, or broth on top of the range or in a slow oven. Next is steaming. It is a moist heat cooking technique that employs hot steam to conduct the heat to the food item. That is steaming. We are going to have an activity called Let's Analyze. Let's apply what we've learned by analyzing what cooking methods used in the different recipe. I will give you 5 seconds to think if it is a dry or moist heat method. Number 1. Roasted beef. For 5 seconds. Roasted beef. Roasting applies, so the method used is dry heat or DHM, dry heat method. Number 2, braised short ribs. For 5 seconds. Braising applies, so it is moist heat method or MHM. Next, number 3, broiled steak. For 5 seconds. And the correct answer is dry heat method or DHM. Number 4, Morcon. For 5 seconds. Morcon, boiling and simmering used to cook this food. So the method is moist heat method or MHM. Next, number 5, grilled pork tenderloin. For 5 seconds. Grilling used to cook this food. So the method is dry heat method or DHM. Awesome, my dear learners. We made it. We already identified what methods of cooking applies in the different recipe. Did you enjoy the lesson? Have you learned a lot today? So, I am happy to be part of your learning. Now that we know the cooking process, the dry and moist heat methods, for you, what subject or subjects or learning area we can integrate our lesson today? So that is mathematics and science, because we encounter different temperature for every cooking methods. Now, I want you to explain what you've learned today by completing the following phrases. I know, I will apply, and I will appreciate. Let me share mine. For example, I know how to identify different methods of cooking meats. I will apply one of the methods of cooking meats. I will appreciate the values and skills I've learned in cooking meats. Now, it's your turn. Oops, it's quiz time. Let's see if you still remember what we have discussed today. Let's answer the multiple choice item. I want you to read and understand each question carefully. Choose the letter of the correct answer. To all our learners who are watching, you may answer it in your module or type in your answers in the comment section below. Number 1. This method of cooking meat is suitable for tender cuts of meat or less tender cuts, which have been marinated. The choices are A. Broiling, B. Grilling, C. Dry heat, or D. Moist heat. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is letter C, dry heat. Number 2. What do you call the process when meat is cooked immersed in fat? The choices are A. Dry heat, B. Pan frying, C. Deep pot frying, or letter D. Stir frying. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is letter C, deep pot frying. Number 3. This helps to reduce surface drying in those cuts requiring prolonged cooking. Is it A. Dry heat, B. Moist heat, C. Grilling, or letter D. Smoking? For 5 seconds. The correct answer is letter B, moist heat. Number 4. This method is often used to cook tender roast, steaks, pork chops, pre-cooked ribs, ground meat patties, and processed meats like fully cooked ham, hot dogs, and bologna. Is it A. Braising, B. Broiling, C. Deep pot frying, or D. Grilling? For 5 seconds. The correct answer is letter D, grilling. Number 5. This method is like pan frying, except that the food is stirred almost continuously. A. Broiling, B. Grilling, C. Roasting, or letter D. Stir frying. For 5 seconds. The correct answer is letter D, stir frying. Good job, my dear students! I know you got a perfect score in our short quiz today. For our assignment, at this point, we are done with our lesson. But before we end, I will give you an assignment. Here it is. Let me read the instructions. Using any video editing applications, make a 3-minute video of yourself performing a recipe using one of the methods of cooking meats. You may ask for help and guidance from your parents while doing this activity. Your outputs will be evaluated using a performance score sheet. So here is the rubric. If you have questions or question, do not hesitate to ask your TLE teacher during your follow-up session. Well, how did you find our lesson for today? Extraordinary? Electrifying? What part of the lesson did you enjoy the most? Fantastic! You enjoyed the game as well as the application of learning. Remember that every learning must be applied in real-life situations so that there is no reason to stop learning. Because I believe to what Julia Child said, learn how to cook, try new recipes, learn from your mistakes, be fearless, and above all, have fun. Once again, I'm Mr. Ricky Soroke, your TLE teacher from Disciplina Village, Bignay National High School. TL amazing to us. Bye!